Today, we're going to learn all about the whimsical artwork of Mr. Doodle. Let's learn about who he is. Mr. Doodle is a contemporary artist from England who loves to doodle all over everything. You can see that he has his drawings behind him in his photo as well as all over his clothing. And he often likes to decorate walls, floors, and anything that he can doodle on. Doodling is drawing or sketching without really thinking about it. Now, you've probably doodled before, maybe even during class when you were supposed to be paying attention. You may have found yourself drawing or sketching little pictures on your paper. Doodling is really fun, and I will admit that I also love to doodle. Let's take a look at some of Mr. Doodle's famous artworks. You can see that he draws all sorts of things that are really imaginative. Made-up creatures, lines, shapes, cartoons, shapes with eyes on them, anything that comes to his mind. The beauty of doodling is that you don't have to think too much about it. You just draw whatever comes to you, and you just go with it. In his artworks, Mr. Doodle often likes to create emphasis. Emphasis in art is created when there is a focal point in an artwork. A focal point is the part of the artwork that your eyes are drawn to right away. Looking at this example, we can tell that his focal point is the blue robot doodle in the center of his paper. He created his focal point by drawing that really large doodle, outlining it with a very thick black line, and coloring it in blue. He also adds smaller doodles just with a black marker all around that main focal point, which gives his artwork a sense of unity. Today, we're going to create an artwork inspired by Mr. Doodle that includes a focal point, has lots of emphasis, and has some contrast. So let's get started. For this project, you're going to need a piece of paper, a pencil with an eraser, and a black marker. I'm using a Sharpie today, but you could use whatever black marker you have at home. If you don't have a black marker, you could always use a black crayon or a black pen, but I do prefer using a marker for this project because we want to create those nice bold lines just like Mr. Doodle has in his artwork. If you want to create extra emphasis in your artwork today, you could also grab some markers or crayons or something else to color with. The first step is to think of a symbol or a simple thing to draw for your focal point. Remember, a focal point is the first thing that someone sees when they look at your artwork, so make sure that you draw something that you like. This could be as simple as drawing a symbol that you really like to draw, like a flower or a heart, or it could be a little bit more meaningful, like a symbol that represents you. You could think about things that you like to do, like playing sports or playing games, and you could draw one of those symbols. It's really up to you, boys and girls. I'm going to be drawing a quartz crystal for my symbol, just because I really love collecting crystals. Now, please do not copy me. Draw your own thing for your focal point. You could draw it in the center of your paper, kind of like how Mr. Doodle does with his artworks, or you could even have it cropped off of the edge of your paper. I think that's what I'm going to do because when we use cropping in artwork, it can create a really interesting composition. So with my pencil, I'm just drawing out my symbol or my picture for my focal point. Now remember, you don't have to include cropping with your symbol. If you want to see your entire symbol on your page, that's okay too. Now that I've finished drawing my symbol using pencil, it's time to start outlining it using my black marker. Outlining our pencil lines with this black marker not only starts to add contrast to our artwork, but it also starts to add emphasis to the symbol that we drew, making it look more like our focal point. Now I'm just going to clean up any of the pencil lines that I have left over from my first little sketch. This will help to make my picture look more complete. Okay, so there we go. It looks pretty good. We can tell that this part definitely has emphasis now, but if I remember correctly, Mr. Doodle had really, really thick black lines outlining his focal points. So I'm going to just go over these lines one more time with my black marker, making sure that these lines are nice and thick. Once you have nice, thick, and bold outlines on your drawing, then it's time to start the doodling process. Now we're going to fill all of this white space around our symbol that we drew with doodles. And the most important thing to remember, boys and girls, is don't overthink your doodles. Don't spend 10 minutes drawing one little picture, okay? Doodling, remember, it's mindless drawing. I want you to have fun and draw what you want to draw for your doodles, as long as it's school appropriate. So here we go. I'm just going to choose a little space to start doodling, and I'm just going to start by starting. I'm not thinking about it too much. I'm drawing different types of lines for more abstract doodles, maybe some triangle shapes. Your doodles can be abstract or they can be realistic. It is up to you. I'm doing kind of a mixture of both. I have some lines going on, some shapes, but I'm also adding in things that I recognize, like smiley faces, leaves, and other things that just come to my mind as I draw. Remember, don't think too much about it. Don't get stuck in your head. Just doodle. Just have fun. Now, you could always use a thinner black marker if you have one lying around, if you want. If you really want to add a lot of detail to your picture. I'm just going to stick with my black Sharpie that I am using, but I just wanted to say that that is always an option. You can see that as I'm doodling, I'm kind of working off of what I already have going on here. When I draw one thing, it creates space for another thing. Watch this. I'm drawing a spiral line and a leaf, and now there's a space over here. Maybe I will draw a mountainscape. Ooh, that gave me the idea of a sun in the sky. So my ideas start to build off of each other. You could also theme your doodles off of what you drew for your focal point. For example, I drew a crystal, so maybe I want to include some smaller crystals for my doodles. I'm going to continue doodling and I'll catch up with you soon. Let's take a look. Okay, I'm making good progress here. So I want to talk to you about the orientation of your picture. You can turn it whichever way you want. If you get tired of working on the same area of doodles, you could always flip your paper and work in a different section. I'm just going to continue working over here for now, but maybe I'll turn my paper soon. At this point, I'm about halfway done, and I think I'm going to turn my paper and see, maybe I should start doodling from this empty corner. That way I can start drawing towards my existing doodles that I already did, and it can kind of give me a fresh start and a new perspective. So I'm just going to speed my video up super uber fast so that you don't have to watch me draw very slowly, but I'm going to start doodling from this corner. Okay, I'm all finished doodling around my crystal that I drew. Wowza. That was a lot of fun. It was really fun just drawing whatever came to my mind. I hope that you had fun drawing your little doodles as well. Now at this point, I'm just going to move my picture around and see which way I like it the best. Honestly, whatever way it's turned, I think it looks pretty cool. My artwork has lots of emphasis because of that crystal being so big and outlined with those thick black lines, but I think I'm going to add even more emphasis and make this crystal look even more like my focal point by adding some color to it. I'm going to use some art markers that I have just to color my crystal in, and I think that will add more emphasis to this crystal and really make it stand out in my picture. I could just leave it black and white, but boys and girls, if you have colors, I would say go for the coloring portion. Add some color, add some life to your artwork. If you don't have any colors, that is a-okay. As long as you made that symbol or thing that you drew for your focal point nice and big and outlined it with thick black lines, it should be pretty obvious that that is your focal point, and your drawing should still have quite a bit of emphasis. So I'm just adding some finishing touches to my crystal by coloring it in and adding a darker value of blue. I'm adding these lines on my crystal, these directional lines. They're called striations, and on some quartz crystals they're pretty prominent, so they're pretty noticeable. So I thought I would add them into my picture just for some added texture and detail. Okay, I'm all done with my artwork. I can definitely tell where my focal point is. My artwork has lots of emphasis, lots of contrast, and is actually really interesting to look at. I hope you enjoyed creating your Mr. Doodle inspired emphasis artworks this week. I can't wait to see